Welcome to the EdUp AI podcast. I'm here with David Clarke. And David, I have a question for you. And here it is. How do you see artificial intelligence enabling student success?
Wow, that is the question. Thank you, Jason. I think we got to meet the students where they are, and right now, they're just absolutely inundated with content, with technology, with a lot of noise, from their tribe and from the teachers. So being able to cut through a lot of that noise, being able to have the content contextual, have it customized and personalized to their needs at the moment of need. That's another really important one, right? Because a lot of students procrastinate, a lot of students are busy, a lot of students have a job, the non-traditional students. So they're not studying typically in the classroom, they're not studying when everybody else is. And so the faculty isn't always available. And, what did we do when we were students? We just Googled it, right? Well, the reason that the students Google things is because it's available and it'll give them a quick answer, but it's not a good answer typically, right? And so having generative AI now and artificial intelligence, able to meet them where they are when they need that content, personalize the content, and deliver it in a kind of with a little bit of personality. We're doing this concept of a digital twin where faculty get to kind of create a digital version of themselves that can be available to the students at all times. It's really been exciting because the students now, they're getting that attention that they need, and they're getting in and out with the content, less noise.
I think your point about meeting students where they are is so key. And one of the reasons I think it's so important, especially in the higher ed space or really the teaching space, is that a lot of us know that. We know that the more we analyze and understand our audience, the better we can be as teachers. But honestly, a lot of us don't do it. We go in and we have these one size fits all lessons. We have everything basically mapped out from beginning to end. And I understand why we want to feel like we're
It's
giving as
hard.
much value as we can in a pretty short amount of time. But we can, and there are ways we can actually use the technology to do this. We can come to a better understanding of our audience, and a lot of it just comes to talking to them, figuring out their pain points. And in many ways, this takes an idea that we're so used to thinking about in business and just out in the world, and it applies it to an educational setting because we are now at a point when we can scale a lot of this. So I think that that's so important, that it's something that we
Mm.
know works from a teaching perspective. We just haven't done it. So maybe AI is a chance to actually do that. And it also speaks to questions about access, that
Yeah.
a lot of us go into a classroom and we just assume all of our students have access to the same technology. But then once you actually look at things and you talk to them and you try to put everything together, it's not true, right? It really isn't.
Right.
That some students have access to it all the time, some of them don't. So how do you see yourself, if you see yourself engaging with questions about student access? How does that work into what you're doing and how you're seeing this technology working?
Digital equity is a big deal, our primary kind of customer market is minority serving institutions and community colleges. And I think it's really important to level the playing field, and we're starting to do that because not only do these non-traditional minority students they don't have access to tutors, they might not have access to technology, they don't have access to a lot of the same kinds of tools that the rest of us do. Now they do, because all you need is a browser. And pretty much everybody has a browser, they have a phone. And we're trying to kind of level that playing field, as we talked about, which is really interesting because there's also a cultural element around social learning, collaboration, and like you said, the digital equity. 60% in our experience, 60% of all the questions asked in a class that's been enabled with our technology is answered by the generative AI mentor. 60%. 30% is answered by other students. So it's fostering a level of kind of almost crowd sharing and collaboration. And then 10% by the faculty. And that frees up the faculty to curate more content, to spend more one-on-one time with the students who need it. Again, leveling the playing field. So you make a really good point about meeting them where they are and digital equity.
I think a lot of us underestimate how powerful that is, right? We all saw these AI tutors brought out there, and we all think about whether it's going to replace AI tutoring. And yes, we can have that conversation. But I think we do that. When we do that, we sometimes lose touch the fact of how just groundbreaking that is, how much that changes. When I was in school and I was taking the SATs, right, which are make it or break it, right, for getting into college, I was competing against students who were literally dropping $5,000 to $10,000 on SAT tutors. And that's where you kind of see it's not really fair, right? And yes, an AI tutor doesn't fix that. But if now I can have something that is some personalized tutor to help me along and give me that level of support, that's huge. And same thing with a digital twin, right? If you can imagine a digital twin being worked into a course, even if that course is 300 students, and now you can engage with a digital twin of the professor or TA or wherever it is and get that level of support. Even if it's not replacing a person, right? Having anything can be really game changing in terms of just student success. So I think that point is really, really important. And it nicely brings up, how all of this, everything that you're doing connects to questions about equity and access. And that was it. That's the end of our conversation. It goes by fast, right? Yeah, it's about 7 minutes. So thank you, David, so much for reaching, for talking to me on this podcast. And I'll put David's information just in the post. So if you want to reach out to him and talk about what he's doing, talk about what he's building, and how he's using AI to help students succeed and actually get personalized individual support, please do so. He's awesome. I highly recommend reaching out to him.